Hello, my name is Ray Wendell, and I'm pleased to welcome you to my graduate research project presentation for Human Resource Management 6485. This project was developed under the instruction of Dr. Diane Sanchez. The focus of my research is the strategic integration of human resources during mergers and acquisitions, with a spotlight on the Kraft Heinz merger as a real-world case study. I examine Ulrich's four-role framework and how HR can be more than just a support function. Let's begin with a sobering statistic according to McKinsey and Company and Deloitte. Up to 90% of mergers and acquisitions fail to meet expectations, often not because of flawed strategy or financial missteps, but because of poor integration of people and culture. This study examines the strategic role of human resources during post-merger integration, utilizing the 2015 Kraft-Heinz merger as a case study. My central hypothesis is that early and structured HR involvement, guided by Ulrich's four-role framework, can significantly improve integration outcomes. Ulrich's model includes the HR functions of strategic partner, change agent, administrative expert, and employee champion. I will cover these in more detail later in the presentation, but I argue that when these roles are applied intentionally, they enable alignment across three critical pillars: culture, talent, and operations. In other words, when HR is brought in at the start, not as a support function, but as a strategic driver, organizations are more likely to achieve post-merger success, foster employee engagement, and maintain operational coherence. Numerous studies emphasize that cultural misalignment and late HR involvement remain consistent and critical factors in mergers and acquisition failure. It's estimated that 70 to 90% of mergers fail, and much of that stems from breakdowns in people integration rather than financial structure. Vanzarani and Chang Hao offer strategic insights that underscore the importance of involving HR during the earliest phases of a merger, not after operational decisions are made. At Kraft Heinz, HR took an active role, redefining corporate values, launching the KH Connect platform, and driving alignment through management by objectives. These interventions weren't reactive, they were foundational to merging legacy cultures and stabilizing talents. Together, this literature affirms that HR should be positioned as a strategic architect, shaping cultural direction and integration strategies, not just implementing policy after the fact. Examine recent literature. Four influential studies underscore a central theme. HR must lead integration efforts from the outset. Chang Hao advocates for a process-oriented approach to HR integration, particularly in cross-border mergers. Although the study emphasizes international context, the recommendation to develop unified HR frameworks is widely applicable. Vazirani warns that neglecting HR during due diligence is a primary reason mergers and acquisitions fail. While his study lacks empirical depth, it strongly supports early HR involvement as a strategic imperative. The Forbes HR Council emphasizes HR roles in cultural and talent alignment within private equity environments. Their call for structured change in management complements broader organizational strategies. Lastly, HR Zone identifies culture as the number one reason mergers fail. Despite relying on qualitative reporting, their findings suggest that running pre-deal cultural assessments can mitigate post-merger disruptions. Together, these sources highlight a clear directive. HR must shift from reactive posture to a proactive, strategic force during integration. Research, I used a qualitative case study approach to examine how Kraft Heinz implemented HR strategy following its 2015 merger, guided by Org's four-role HR model: strategic partner, change agent, administrative expert, and employee champion. I evaluated HR's influences on cultural alignment, talent retention, and operational coherence. I analyzed data from public reports, executive interviews, academic commentary, and industry publications including Cotter and Gupta 2019, Wernick 2024, and Wellons and Watson 2023. This methodology allowed me to map HR actions to measurable outcomes, demonstrating how strategic planning and early HR involvement shaped integrational success. Org's HR model, introduced in Human Resource Champions 1997, remains a foundational framework in strategic HR planning, especially during organizational transformations like mergers and acquisitions. The model outlines four essential roles. First, the strategic partner, who aligns HR policies with business goals, ensuring that integration supports financial and operational success. Next, the change agent, responsible for guiding cultural transition, promoting agility, and managing organizational behavior through intentional interventions. Third, the administrative expert, who streamlines systems, policies, and HR operations, maintaining consistency across legacy infrastructures. And finally, the employee champion, who advocates for engagement, trust, and well-being, especially critical when morale and identity may be at risk. Scholars like Vazirani and Cotter and Gupta have emphasized this framework's value in post-merger environments, showing how balancing efficiency and empathy lead to sustainable outcomes. The Kraft Heinz merger demonstrates both the potential and the pressure of post-merger HR strategy. Following the 2015 deal driven by 3G Capital, HR faced immediate challenges integrating two legacy structures, reducing cost and stabilizing employee morale, all under intense performance expectations. To support operational goals, HR introduced zero-based budgeting and helped define new performance metrics, ensuring every role and expense aligned with 3G's lean model. At the same time, they launched KH Connect, a digital platform that improved transparency and cross-functional communication, a vital tool for navigating identity shifts and building engagement across legacy teams. HR leaders also rolled out Management by Objectives, MBOs, to provide consistency and clarity in goal setting, helping unite teams around a common mission. Despite these efforts, Kraft Heinz encountered resistance. Employee surveys revealed morale concerns and talent loss accelerated, reminding us that strategic alignment must include emotional and cultural considerations, not just efficiency. Strategic HR goals post-merger play a central role in ensuring organizational clarity, fairness, and cohesion. At Kraft Heinz, HR leaders prioritize these goals to bridge two legacy systems and culture while delivering on 3G Capital's performance mandates. To begin with, they work to harmonize compensation and benefits, aligning policies to ensure equity across merged teams. This was critical in promoting trust and avoiding perceptions of imbalance. Next, HR consolidated talent pipelines, integrating recruitment processes and succession planning tools to create a unified talent strategy. They also redefined corporate values and culture, launching KH Connect and executive-led workshops to facilitate buy-in and shared identity. Legal and compliance measures were addressed early through policy audits and system reviews, ensuring regulatory alignment across industries. Finally, HR developed a unified leadership framework, applying management by by objectives, the MBOs, to steer behavior, foster accountability, and reinforce the merger's strategic direction. The roadmap for implementation included 5 key stages: discovery and audit, strategic alignment workshops, rollout of initiatives, ongoing communication, and continuous monitoring. This approach ensured that HR wasn't just reacting, but driving trust, momentum, and long-term integration success. As mergers grow more frequent in today's dynamic business environment, HR must evolve to meet a workforce that expects transparency, flexibility, and purpose. At Kraft Heinz, HR leaders used pulse surveys to track morale and uncover disengagement trends during the integration process. Key metrics such as engagement scores, turnover rates, and time to productivity offered clear insight into whether strategic goals were resonating with employees. Digital tools like KH Connect help drive communication, enable performance tracking, and reduce onboarding lag, contributing to a greater HR system efficiency. The modern HR function must support agile leadership and continuous learning, helping organizations adjust in real time and align people with business priorities. The research strongly supports early and strategic HR involvement in mergers and acquisitions. It's important to acknowledge certain limitations. Chung Hao's framework focuses on cross-border integrations, which means some of its recommendations, like global compliance mapping, may not fully apply to domestic mergers like Kraft Heinz. Vazirani offers strong conceptual arguments about HR's role in mergers and acquisitions failures, but the study lacks empirical rigor, relying mostly on literature review rather than original data. Similarly, HR Zone provides valuable practitioner insight based on qualitative reporting, but it's not easily disseminated across industries. Given the variability of the merger context, despite these constraints, each source still contributes meaningful to the central theme that early HR engagement improves cultural alignment, talent retention, and overall strategic execution in mergers and acquisition environments. The consistency across studies, regardless of format or scope, reinforces the urgency of embedding HR as a strategic partner from day one. To close the strategic loop, let's explore key recommendations grounded in both academic literature and real-world practice. First, HR must be involved in early due diligence, as Vazirani emphasizes. Too many mergers fail because HR is sidelined until post-deal execution, missing the chance to shape culture and talent strategy from day one. Second, organizations should adopt ORC's HR model, which balances strategic planning with operational efficiency and emotional intelligence. This framework has proved adaptable in complex environments like the Kraft Heinz merger. Third, conduct cultural audits and leadership alignment workshops prior to integration. Studies such as the HR Zone 2024 point to culture as the #1 reason mergers falter, often because values clash or leaders lack a unified direction. Fourth, invest in digital HR platforms such as KH Connect. Tools like these support real-time feedback, strengthen internal communication, and help track workforce analytics. Finally, maintain relentless and authentic communication throughout integration. Whether through pulse surveys, onboarding portals, or executive town halls, HR must lead with transparency and consistency to build trust and unity. To conclude, this research affirms a vital message. HR is not just a support function, it is a strategic integrator. The Kraft Heinz merger illustrated this clearly. While operational targets were met, true success hinged on how effective HR aligned culture, talent, and systems, especially under intense performance pressures. The Ulrich model provided a versatile framework, enabling HR to balance structure with empathy and strategy with day-to-day execution, an approach validated across multiple post-merger environments. Today, workforce shaped by hybrid structures and evolving organizational norms demands HR leadership that is proactive, people-centered, and adaptive. Strategic HR environment influences not just retention, but resilience, engagement, and long-term integration success. Mergers and acquisitions planning is no longer just financial forecasting. It's people-first strategy, and HR is the bridge between vision and reality. Thank you for your time.